What's up, everybody? Wilson XCI, and we're back with our OOR Rookie Series League Race, Week 3, and we are racing back at Barcelona. And we got pole. I don't have the actual pole lap that I did, but it was I want to say a 144.8, I think. And so we were good enough for pole just by the skin of our teeth over Canacari. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But he was the guy who won the race last week in Watkins Glen. So we're back racing out up front again. And we're about ready to get this show on the road. I think we have about 21, 22 cars in this race. And we're off and away. And immediately, again, I have a poor start, just like last race. And this one is going to end up costing me. And you're going to see why in the next laps as they play out. But we kind of get sucked back into the pack. We fend off here. And we hold third. And I kind of get a little bit off kilter there, if you want to call it that. Just kind of screw that up, get a little understeer. Not really shifting correctly. Should have been in third gear at that point. But we're going to go on the inside of that turn there, and we're just going to take the line well, and we're going to hold off on third.
32.
But we are stuck now in third place when, in all honesty, with a good start, we should be right there in first place still. At the very least, behind first. But this track, again, is something that I've said. I think this is my first video. It's a difficult track to pass on.
Some car hit me rear end.
And
Call out your car number.
when you get stuck behind a driver that is not as fast as a lead car, it costs you dearly.
714, sorry.
But second place gets a little bit sideways there. He's able to hold off, but unfortunately I am not close enough at the moment to make any type of overtake on him. But we are quickly running away from the rest of the pack. Something that I pretty much expected compared to looking back at last week. But one of the things that is something that I'll have to work on, and I think I can speak for a lot of other newer racers or people that are into sim racing, is it's hard to get the nerves out of the way and crank out some solo laps right out of the beginning. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's something I've got to work on and get comfortable with. Tires are cold. The fuel tank is absolutely full. So the car isn't going to be, I guess, as nimble coming into mid-race and towards the end of the race. But it's just something to work on. But as you can see, first place is already pulling away. He's already 2.5 seconds away. And so we got to make a move on third place here, but we've got to get close. We've got to get a good exit off of a turn that can set us up for an overtake opportunity. This turn up here, high speed, sharp turn. It's one of the more frustrating turns in this one because for me at least personally, it's just a hard turn to judge when your sightline's kind of obscured by the driver ahead of you. And you'll see, as pretty much as long as I am behind Lee here in the BMW, I struggle with that turn. And same with this one. When you don't have very good clear braking points and you have to kind of do things by feel, because there are a lot of turns like that, especially this last sector of the track, it's tough to do. It's tough to do, and that comes with experience. So coming across, I think we hit our first 145. So we're getting up to speed here a bit. Still managing to stay about 2.5 seconds away from the lead, but I don't expect that to hold much longer. Actually, he's already got a great entry and exit out of the first couple turns here on this lap.
Number 13.
And again, you're going to hear some stuff in the background. Essentially, that's people calling out their own racing number when they're involved in an incident for the stewards to take a look at. Now, looking at where we are right now, how do we want to do this pit window is a big question. And looking back at it, I guess honestly it's a tough situation, because when you have the pace like this, you want to stretch the field so that when you go in the pits that you have open track when you get out. And so for me personally, it's a choice between, we want to do that and try and undercut Lee because we're sticking with him. We know we have the pace. My pace was a lot closer to the Audi in first place, and we're losing time on this. So really the big question again is, do you go for the undercut and risk being overtaken by other drivers behind, or do you try to stick with him and stretch out on the field? So, not the easiest decision to make. Strategy is something also that I haven't had a lot of time really to work on. It's really not my main focus. It's really just my mechanics, my own driving style, and even trying to learn some of the setup and whatnot. With each race that goes by in this series, I take a little bit of time to basically play around with the setup. So obviously the first thing I do is I race a few laps to get the tires down, but then I try to figure out, is my car not turning in well enough, or is it exiting with too much understeer? And I find that the McLaren has very good turn-in, even when the front anti-roll bars are all the way up. But I do sometimes feel like I struggle with a little bit of understeer coming out of the turn, so I definitely stiffen up the rear anti-roll bar quite a bit. Especially on a track like this where so many of the turns are very flat. They're not really banked, so they're not going to help you really get, I guess good traction or stability. Just get some good turning out of it, especially the hairpin we just went through. But coming up on a lap car here. Probably just had a slow start, maybe had to go in the pits for some repairs, but we just want to do our best to try to get through as clean as we can. Chicane right here, not the best place to get caught up with the drivers here, but luckily he gets out of the way in a pretty timely manner, and we get through just fine. So we're going to fast forward a bit because we trail him quite a while. And here we are in 6th place, and as you can see on the position chart on the bottom left, the Audi in first, he's already about 5.5 to 6 seconds up, so we're losing valuable time. But we're going to try to get a good exit on here, and we do. And what we want here is to try to hopefully get a good run on him, and maybe overtake come out of the slipstream and overtake on the turn 1. But again, McLaren not really a super huge straight line car. Wish I kind of would have stayed in the slipstream a little bit longer there, but regardless, I don't think I was going to get in the inside. He kind of dove in onto the straight to kind of break the slipstream just a little bit. But at this point, we're going to have to try to set something up. Going to have to keep trying to put pressure on him. Hopefully that at some point he falters with that. But again, the longer that we are stuck behind this car, this BMW here, it's just going to hurt us. And it just goes to show really that how important a start is on some tracks, especially like this where it's tough to pass, because as soon as you give up a certain position and get stuck behind someone who's slower, that means the first place opportunity could be over right from the start, and it's starting to look that way. if we just go back to my very first upload, doing my first LFM race, ran into early problems, and sure enough, I got stuck behind someone who was slower than me, and it cost us. I never actually got by him, and it cost me potential time to catch up to the drivers ahead. But we go in a little deep here on this turn. But again, we're looking for a nice exit. Getting a solid exit on this last turn here and getting the straight. Super important if you want to overtake. But he goes really deep. I think he loses traction coming out of the final turn there. And we're going to get a run on him alongside. And we're just going to get by him. But I'm just concerned that with the braking points, I'm not as comfortable with him yet. I haven't been doing a lot of side-to-side racing in this league. I gave him room on the inside, but he decided not to take it. I think we're both trying to preserve our position in the sense that no matter if the race were to end now, we're going to get podium anyways. But I stick to the inside of the track a little bit to make sure he doesn't try to come inside. I don't think it was going to happen regardless. And coming out of that turn and realizing that, I just kind of dive in on the inside just a little early for this turn. Didn't hurt me too much, but as you can see, our pace is finally unleashed. And as this lap goes by, you're going to see me slowly but surely create a bit of a gap. But again, I think, trying to see, first place already 7 seconds away. We're losing time, and the other thing that I notice is that finally after I'm past, it looks like actually third place, he kind of loses it there a little bit, and he's going to drop back, and I'm going to get a comfortable 1.5 seconds on him now. But you know, as we finally get by second place, or get into second place, we kind of have to dive back into my pace. You know, I was racing the safe race behind second place for the while, but now I'm unleashed. I got to get comfortable at my own pace and take turns the best I can. But we're up to lap 16 now, and kind of cut through there because we're just trailing first place. And I decided to take a pit stop. I think we've stretched enough of the field, and the hopes is that at this point, maybe first place messes up their pit stop a little bit and falls back with enough time for maybe me to make a last ditch effort and push. So we're going to go in the pits, and because I pitted before him, I'm going to expect him to basically follow, just to mitigate any potential undercut. And to be completely honest, in only a 45-minute race, I don't think the undercut's really going to be much. Just due to the fact that the tires could easily go the full length of the race. This is just part of the mandatory pit stop. But we make a decent entry, and we get into the box just fine. We don't have to reposition the car or anything. So we're having a good pit stop here. No damages to repair, no penalties this time. So we've done everything at this point that we can do to try and get back in this race for P1. So we're going to get out on the track here soon, and we'll have to see what P1 does. And hope that he makes a mistake so that we have a chance. But again, we did that little cut on this video because nothing really happened. Didn't really gain any seconds on him, and he's built up a sizable lead. So right now I was pretty much looking at the track map here, and it looks like, based on how slow he's going, he is going into the pits, so he did follow. And it looks like third place also pitted, maybe on the same lap as me, maybe one before. But as you can tell, we've already created quite a gap. And it just goes to show that how much pace I lost being stuck behind him, and kind of kicking myself, thinking, you know, where would I be if I hadn't made that mistake at the start of the race? because in previous practice sessions and qualifying, me in first place we were neck and neck. So we're in the final sector of this lap and kind of waiting to see the triangle move on the straight there, and he's finally moving, so that means he's done with his pit stop. How much time can we gain on him? We'll see. And so as we get on the straight, he's pretty much exiting the pits. And I'm looking at the screen here. We are 9.5 seconds, 10 seconds. So unfortunately at this point, he didn't really make much of any mistakes. He's kept his race nice and tight. And really he's been able to keep his gap almost the whole race. But as you can see on the screen, we're going to cut to lap 23. And we run a 1:45.1, which is good pace. And we've really essentially only cut down a second, maybe a little bit more on him. And with 3 minutes left, we're pretty much just praying for a mistake on his end. But I pretty much have this lap in here for because this actually is the fastest lap of the race. So if there is one positive, it's that lap was plenty of proof to show myself that, you know, if I didn't make that mistake at the beginning, probably be right up there with him. But I tend to be very strong towards the end of races. I think it just takes a while for me to get into my best flow state, I guess you could call it. I don't know if I'm just used to practicing on a lower fuel load. Not quite sure. But we are 0.3 of a second up. And pretty much hold that there coming out of this hairpin. Going to carry as much speed through this corner as we can. We're doing a good job of that. We're also gaining pretty much another 1/10 on that turn. And let's see if we can nail the chicane here. Which obviously we do, because this is the fastest lap of the race. And we get right through it pretty well. Get a good run out of the corner. We did lose a little time actually in the chicane, but we run a 1:44.8, which is the fastest lap of the race, and it will stay that way. But unfortunately, we are not able to close the gap quite enough. And yeah, that was the race. You can see that we did gain a bit of time on him towards the end, but just wasn't enough time, and we just needed to be able to make that move on second place a lot earlier in this race. But it is what it is. Another good race, one that I'm pretty happy with. Another second. But at this point, I'm thinking maybe next time, because this is a rookie series and this league is basically for learning, I may start further in the back next time. And yeah.
52.
So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the race. Next week we're going into the Hungaroring, and that one could be hectic. Not the easiest track for beginners. So hopefully that's an exciting one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.